Hello, it's finally the 1st of August and today's quite an important one. It's a full moon in, if you believe in astrology, Bitcoin sign, Aquarius. Now, a lot of people will tell you that full moons are turning points. I actually think that new moons are turning points. I'm not an astrologer, first off, I want to say this. But for me, I think quite often full moons kind of intensify what's going on. So here in the summer, we're having a little bit of a pullback in Bitcoin. And I feel like this full moon could intensify it. So let's talk about, first off, where we are in Bitcoin on a monthly chart. So if we take a look at the monthly chart in Bitcoin, we've overcome all of our monthly moving averages. We're sitting consolidating very nicely above our monthly moving averages, very similar to we did here in April 2020. And you can see we went sideways, held above. And when did this really big rally start? October. Where was the low here? In September. Why do I point this out? Because this is really important with Bitcoin's seasonality. If we take a look at Bitcoin seasonality month by month, you can see that the best performing months for I've lost a bit of it here. Here we go. Best performing months really at the start of the year for Bitcoin are February and April. We tend to make a low in September, and then we have pretty good months, October, November, and then leading on. Now, if we take a look at where we are, our best performing months this year so far have been February and April. So we're following this seasonality really well. So for the next 2 months, August and September, if we follow the seasonal patterns, we're likely to make a very nice bottom and the next upswing begin. So why does this happen like this? I honestly think it's to do with people in, most people in the Northern Hemisphere at the beach. In the east, it's the middle of winter. I don't know. It's just seasonal patterns, and they do tend to work very well for Bitcoin. Actually, this low here was July. So if we take a look at where we are on a weekly, I'm not an Elliott waver. It's not my primary method of technical analysis, but I do kind of look at waves and count simple 5 waves and 3 wave corrections. And for me, when I look at the low that we made in November, I think we can count 5 waves up to this high in April, potentially, but it's also possible that this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and this was a wave 5. So we are starting a correction here. For me, though, I'm leaning towards this being a big either. This was a correction. So we have 5, 3 waves back, and this was wave 1 of a new bigger upswing. Or this is our wave 1 and we're still in a big 3 wave correction going 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure which one it is, but for me we can look at where the ideal pullback support would be to turn higher from either way. So if this is wave 1 of a new upswing, then I would expect this pullback to come back like 50 or between 50, 61.8. And if we look at where this 50% is, it's around 28,200. That's quite an important level for me for a number of reasons. So first off, 50% of this swing. But it also, I like to look at Marubosu lines, the 50% retrace of big thrust candles. So if we do that here for this candle, you can see that this is also around this 50% retrace. I look at the open close. So that's here in the mix at 28,000 and a little bit of change as well. And also, if this is a big 1, 2, 3 correction, instead of this being a wave 1, if I measure from this high to this low, project it from here, I get this 61.8 level here, right at where the weekly 20 moving average is. So that kind of gives me a zone between 27,950 and 28,200 is where I likely, if we are going to keep trending higher, and this was a wave one, think that we'll find some support. And if we continue below 27,950, I think the equal measured move will come back to retest 25,000. And of course, by then, a lot of people will be freaking out. But, you know, it is just a correction. This is a buying opportunity. And I think that the next kind of big upswing is going to make, you know, these previous big moves in Bitcoin have made people millionaires. And the key to that for me is not getting chopped up when the market isn't trending or going your way, being patient, waiting for the opportunities and stalking really good entries and trying to cling on, you know. So clearly we've got a bit of a bigger pullback coming. If you're a candlestick trader, if I take all this away, if you're a candlestick trader, you know, when you're in a trend, for example, in an uptrend, what you see, you'll see big upswing moves and choppy overlapping corrections, and then you continue higher. When you're in a downtrend, you see sharp moves lower, choppy overlapping corrections, and you continue lower. Look, sharp three-wave corrections, down we go. Clearly, you know, from the naked eye, looking at what we're doing in Bitcoin at the moment, especially from this low that we made at the beginning of June, this is a sharp up. And this is a choppy overlapping correction. So unless that changes, or unless, you know, more than 50% back of this whole rally, I'd be more concerned. But I would say that it's not inconceivable, mainly because I think this was a first big upswing. And often, you know, the first wave will pull back 50%. So that it is possible, you know, that we go lower here in this correction, and we kind of need to be open to it. The one thing about crypto and Bitcoin is there's always some news that will knock you off. So we were holding pretty nice support in a lot of coins overnight as we headed into month end. And then of course we've had a whole bunch of news about Curve Finance. So all of the lending protocol tokens like Aave, Comp and Maker are all getting hit because of it. So what's going on in Curve is they suffered an exploit. It's down hugely. One of the reasons the market is reacting so badly is that one of the founders, Michael Egorov, had a big position on the lending protocol Aave, backed by a big 168 million lending position secured by CRV. So if the value of CRV goes down massively, which it has, then he may have to liquidate his position, which would, you know, it all snowballs. It's a bit like, well, we've seen this movie before, haven't we? So if I take a look at CRV, I do see since we hit this low in this 886 retrace at 0.5, and we are down back at the lows, we seem to be attempting to rally back. I'm going to watch and see how this closes. A close above 0.6, I think we could see a bigger recovery back to the middle of the zone. But for now, that did hit quite a lot of DeFi stuff, and yeah, it's interesting also that for me ETH is doing a little bit better than Bitcoin. So for now, in the short term, on these daily moving averages, underneath the daily 50 moving average, which previously has been really good support, resistance for Bitcoin, it does point to lower. First place I'd be looking is 28,200, but I wouldn't be surprised if we fall back lower. I'm just going to watch the price action. For me, my favorite way to look at that is in terms of Heikin-Ashi. And one thing about Bitcoin particularly is it's very rare for it to make a V bottom, you know, where it hits the bottom and then just turns around and rips straight up again. It's very good at retesting highs and lows, and so that gives us pretty nice bottoming patterns as well. So we will get nice warnings for when Bitcoin bottoms. It's just, will sentiment be so bad that nobody's listening? For now though, I think that we are in a corrective, and it's a good time not to be a hero and be patient. So for me, Bitcoin is heading lower to 28,000, maybe 27,950 around there, and possibly a retest of 25,000. Let's take a look at ETH and the levels that we're looking for in that one. So in ETH, when I said it's holding support, you can see I've got fib retrace. First of all, let's start with our monthly. And unlike Bitcoin, if I take everything off, we're peaking underneath this monthly 20 moving average. Now, it's obviously the first of the month and we've got 30 more days, so I'm not too worried about that. We can make a nice long tail like this and come all the way back again. And if we look at the weekly, we are holding kind of moving average, so it's support. So we're in a choppy corrective sideways zone, and when I see that in a coin, I rely on fib retrace levels to tell me where we're at. I've drawn them on the daily from this high in April to the low that we made in June. Reverse to the 786 fib. Normally your first target would be back to the 38.2. That's exactly where we are. We've broken down with this curve move underneath the daily 50 moving average, which was previously really good support here, really good support here, really good support here. So it's been support since we got above it at the beginning of June, and now we're back underneath it. Normally that means lower for me, and we normally come back and say high when we do that to the 200 moving average. You can see we broke the 50 here down to the 200. Same here, 200 was where the support is. So I feel like 1822, not only is it 50% of this low to high, this may be, you know, sometimes you correct in time instead of price. So rather than us dipping down to say hi to this 200 moving average, it wouldn't be crazy if we went sideways for a month at this price, and by that time the 200 moving averages catch up and then off we go. So at this point, especially sitting on pretty good support, I don't think ETH is a very good short, unless it was to, on a shorter time frame, close underneath 1822 and find resistance from it. For me, it's pretty important potential support level here. I actually don't think, because I'm kind of bullish longer term, I think that, you know, short trades are short-term trades in crypto, and be very careful of where we are in the bigger picture. So in ETH, potentially we go sideways at 1822, and if we go lower, we go potentially down to this 200 moving average, and I think we'll overshoot and back to 1746. If I take this off, we look at this the other way. 1777 is these swing lows, 61.8 retrace, and it would also be the 200-day moving average. So we'll go level to level with this one. If we are in a bigger, I'm not sure it's related to this swing, but if I measure this swing, if I measure this swing high to low, so we're doing this correction, 1708, and does that line up with the 786? I like confluence when they do. So if we break 1822 and don't go sideways, next support is 1777. That's a potential bounce level. And yeah, 1700, 1707. ETH loves round numbers. It would more likely, I think, tag 1700, but that would be a really good place to look for next support. For now, still in a correction, still in a summer correction in ETH, and it has very similar seasonality to Bitcoin. So this is a month where we preserve capital, get ready, learn, improve our trading skills, and get ready for the next move. Let's take a look at Ripple, which has been holding up really well. I was going to look at Litecoin. Litecoin, of course, has the halving coming up. It's a bit of interest in Litecoin because they've printed some silver. It's quite sad, isn't it? Crypto printing metal, silver. But anyway, I'm going to put regular candles on. So we've talked about sharp up moves and sideways usually indicates a trend, and that is what we have been seeing since this really nice rally. If we say 50% of this candle back, that I've marked here in orange, but there's a number of ways to look at where we are likely to come back to. Now, I'm going to take this most recent swing, and we'll just go fib level to fib level. Now, I'd been looking at 50% of this swing to hold as support. And you can see here on the daily, it's been support, set 0.7, support, support, support. Now we're underneath it. We are sideways at the bottom of this range, and we haven't closed underneath the daily 20 moving average, which would point to lower. So I'm not super bearish here. It might come into this zone. If we do, you know, this is clearly a pretty good support zone in between this 50% retrace and daily 20. But now that we're underneath this 50% level at 0.7, if it becomes on a lower time frame resistance, I think that we are likely to head lower to 0.64 and potentially 0.61. Now, how you trade that is a lot of it is going to depend on your view and where we are, because for me, I feel like this was a 3-wave correction. We're in a wave 1, 2, 3, wave 4, and we've still got much more upside to come in Ripple. This is just a correction. Now, this correction could hold here, or it could come back here. And I don't think if you've been holding a position in Ripple, you should let it go offside. I think it's really bad for mental capital, and it's much better in those instances to get out and buy it back lower rather than sit with an offside losing position. Because for most traders, unless you're really experienced and used to pain, it's just not, it's not good. It doesn't help you make good trading decisions, let's put it that way. So if we were to close underneath this daily 20 moving average or this low sideways range, expect more downside, potentially back down to 0.61, 0.62 area, and potentially back to the daily 50 moving average. So for now, sitting on support, possibly headed lower. Ripple definitely has a lot more interest. But if everything is going to have a summer correction, then unfortunately Ripple will too. So in most other coins, just be careful. If we get a liquidation in Curve, it could kind of, especially in these lending platforms, it really could expand and cause a little bit of a shakeout today. Okay, I hope that's useful. Send me any other coins you would like to look at. Not everything looks terrible, but some stuff has had some pretty nasty reversals. One of them, for example, is DOGE. Now, when I look at DOGE, I still think DOGE has more upside. But remember, DOGE is a token that is a sign of Elon Musk's attention and how Elon Musk is doing it. They're very connected. And here from this most recent swing, we're kind of going sideways at this 50% level. I really like how we're holding the daily moving average. I really do think that we have more upside in this one. But because this is a little bit of a channel, and it's, again, summer, then if we lose this, we are likely to come back to the bottom of this channel and a little bit more downside. So again, don't let a winning position become a losing one. And let's wait. For me, how am I going to tell if it's turning up again? Well, 4-hour. I really do like 4-hour high Kanashis. I really do like equal measured moves. So if I measure this low to high, project it from here, I think 0.74 would be the equal measured move, but otherwise potentially we see a bigger correction down to this trend line and the support down here. So I would watch if this goes green here and then gets above this, you know, these previous lows. I think we're on our way up again in Doge, but that's where I would be looking for the turn. around 0.074, 0.075. Okay, hope that helps. If there's anything else you'd like me to look at, let me know.